Ndewo, no, and welcome to your weekly Omnibus. If you've had a busy week and didn't quite get around to listening to the Igbo Daily Drops, this is your chance to catch up. Now you get to hear all 5 episodes from week 12 brought together in one place. Our mission is simple: to raise 10,000 next generation Igbo speakers, and every phrase you practice brings us one step closer. So whether you're in the car, on a walk, or relaxing at home, let's spend a few minutes inside the Igbo world through stories, proverbs, and the sentences we learned this week. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Miriam stands at the gate at the Nwobi compound, Uguta. On the other side of the compound wall, barely visible above the concrete cap, a stripe of blue-green, Uguta Lake. She sees it before she sees anything else. She did not expect it to be so close. She did not expect it to be that color. She has 3 sentences on the inside of her left wrist, written in blue ink. She wrote them in the car from Port Harcourt. Emeka coaching her through the pronunciation at every traffic stop, his eyes steady in the rearview mirror. She has been practicing non-nem for 14 days. She knows the sound of it. She knows it goes up at the end. She does not know who she's supposed to say it to first. She turns to look at him. He makes no move toward the gate. He is giving her the moment. She faces forward. She does not push the gate. She waits. Ndewo. No. I am Yvonne Choma Mbanefo, heritage futurist and daughter of the soil. Welcome to Igbo Daily Drops, episode 56, week 12, day 1, Monday. Today, the architecture of welcome. Here is what the scholars eventually caught up to. A welcome is not something you perform. It is something you go out to meet. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Upstairs, Mama Nkechi Nwobi has been watching from the window since the car turned onto the compound road. She is 67. She has been waiting 45 years for a daughter-in-law. She was not expecting an Israeli woman from Haifa. She had some feelings about it. She does not have them now. She had them, and they passed. And what remained was this: her son loves this woman, and this woman is standing at the gate, and the gate has not opened. In Igbo tradition, the host does not wait to be found. The host goes out. The doors of the house and the doors of the heart are opened from the inside, not pushed from the outside in. A visitor at the threshold is not a test to be passed. They are a guest to be received, and only the one already inside can do the receiving. The gate swings open. Miriam had been practicing that sentence for 2 weeks to say to someone else. She did not know it would be said to her first. No, nem. She has no idea what to do with her hands. Today, 3 sentences. The language of a threshold. What you say when someone arrives and when you open a door. and when you finally ask the only question that matters after a long journey. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. No nnem. In English, welcome, my mother. No nnem. No nnem. No nnem. No nnem. Mama Nkechi says this before Miriam has found a single word. It is not a greeting. It is a decision. Nnem or nne is also an endearment, and this is what Mama Nkechi used at this point, referring to Miriam as nnem, my dear. It's an endearment, but nne is also mother. Sentence 2. Banye n'ime ụlọ. In English, come inside the house. Banye n'ime ụlọ. Banye n'ime ụlọ. Banye n'ime ụlọ. Said walking ahead, back turned. Trust is the instruction. Sentence 3. Ahụ adịghị mma. In English, are you well? Ahụ adịghị mma. Ahụ adịghị mma. Ahụ adịghị mma. At the threshold of the sitting room, Miriam answers, not from her wrist, from somewhere that arrived on its own. These 3 sentences are in your free speaking workbook for this week. Download it at learnibonow.com. If you are driving right now, just listen. The workbook will be waiting. Inside, Mama Nkechi does not sit immediately. She turns. She looks at Miriam the way you look at something you have been trying to understand. Not unkindly, carefully. Then she looks at her son's wife's left wrist, where the ink is already smudging from the heat of the journey. She recognizes what it is. A woman who came prepared, who took this seriously, who sat in a car and wrote sentences on her own skin because she wanted to get it right. Mama Nkechi reaches over and takes Miriam's hand. She does not say anything about the ink. She turns the wrist over gently, like she is reading something. Okenye anaghị anọ n'ụlọ, ewu amụọ nwa n'ọgbụ. Okenye anaghị anọ n'ụlọ, ewu amụọ nwa n'ọgbụ. An elder does not sit at home, while a goat suffers childbirth tied to a tether. She had already known that when she was walking down the stairs. Mama Nkechi came down the stairs before Miriam could ring the bell. That is the whole lesson. Okenye anaghị anọ n'ụlọ, ewu amụọ nwa n'ọgbụ. Okenye anaghị anọ n'ụlọ, ewu amụọ nwa n'ọgbụ. An elder does not sit at home while a goat suffers childbirth tied to a tether. In Igbo culture, the elder does not wait for difficulty to knock. When someone is struggling at the threshold, it is the elder's active duty to walk out to meet them, not to test them, but to release them. Around Igbo land, I have watched this at every ceremony I attended as a child. The women already inside the compound were always the first to move. The guest never opened the gate herself. Never. Joseph Therese Agbasiere, a scholar born into an Igbo family, who spent decades documenting Igbo women's social authority, wrote in Women in Igbo Life and Thought, 1997, that within the domestic sphere, the Igbo woman reigns supreme. That is not a metaphor. When Mama Nkechi crossed her own compound to open the gate, she was exercising a sovereignty that scholars were still arguing about in the 1990s. The compound is her jurisdiction. The welcome is her authority. Agbasiere also documents how older Igbo women address younger women, daughters-in-law, and women brought into the family, calling them nne, mother, as a deliberate act of instant inclusion. Before Miriam could perform her greeting, Mama Nkechi used this ancient social-linguistic move. No nnem. You are already family. The threshold is already crossed. What Igbo women were practicing for centuries, modern hospitality researchers call the host's initiative, the radical act of going out to receive. The Maori concept of manakitanga, sustaining and uplifting others, runs the same current. Hospitality is not warmth, it is governance. If you want to practice these sentences with other families, with your children, the Igbo speaking gym is about to open. Before this day ends, say no name aloud when someone you love walks through your door. Not as language practice, as a declaration. The elder does not sit still while someone struggles at the threshold, and neither can you. Every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mmụta Igbo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. Grab your free speaking workbook at learnibonow.com. This has been your Igbo Daily Drop. Abụ nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka ụzọ ọma meghee n'ihu gị. May good paths open before you. Ka anyị hụ echi. Until we meet again tomorrow. Olachi Dike Ferreira opens the door of her flat on the third floor of a building in Makati, Metro, Manila, and she sees him before he sees her clearly. Nnamdi Eze, 38, standing in the corridor with a holder over one shoulder, and the specific exhaustion of a man who has been awake since yesterday in a different time zone. She steps back. Come in, come in. She takes the bag from his shoulder before he can protest. He sits on the sofa. He exhales. The air conditioning moves the curtain slightly. On the wall behind him, an aquete cloth, deep burgundy and gold, framed. He doesn't notice it yet. On the shelf beside the television, a Filipino santo beside an Igbo bronze figure from Onitsha. Olachi bought it 12 years ago before she knew she was leaving for good. She doesn't look at it anymore. It is just where it has always been. She goes to the kitchen. She stands at the counter. She has cold water, Lipton, Nespresso, Malta. She keeps it in the cupboard for Nigerians who sometimes visit. She lives alone. In Manila, she has kept it there for 11 years. She knows how to offer a drink. She has done it 1,000 times in this kitchen. But the thing surfacing in her now is not the act. It is the register. The specific Igbo register. The question her mother asked every person who crossed their threshold in Nnewi, half to herself, already moving. Mmiri ọṅụṅụ ọ dị? Is there drinking water? Not asked of the guest, asks of the house, of herself, a declaration of obligation, not a question about preference. She has not said it in years. She cannot remember when she stopped. Ndewo. No. I am Yvonne Choma Mbanefo, heritage futurist and daughter of the soil. Welcome to Igbo Daily Drops, episode 57, week 12, day 2, Tuesday. Today, the act of hospitality that happens before hunger, before food, before any conversation that matters. Here is what the scholars have finally named. In Igbo cosmology, the offer of water to a guest is not courtesy. It is a declaration that this person's life is now under your roof's protection. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Olachi fills a glass with cold water. Not the Nespresso, not the Malta. The water first, because somewhere in the register she thought she had lost, something moved. She walks back into the sitting room. She puts the glass in front of Nnamdi without asking, without announcing, the way her mother did it, as a statement, not a question. He looks at it, then at her. Something in his face shifts. The specific recognition of a person who just heard their mother tongue spoken not as language, but as care. He picks up the glass, he drinks. She sits down across from him. She keeps Malta in that cupboard for Nigerians who sometimes visit. She lives alone in Manila. She has kept it there for 11 years. Today, 3 sentences, the ones that complete the circuit, the ones that tell a person you have arrived, your body is this household's concern, and I am asking what you need because I already owe it to you. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. Biko ṅụọ mmiri. In English, please drink water. Biko ṅụọ mmiri. Biko ṅụọ mmiri. Biko ṅụọ mmiri. Olachi places the glass in front of him before he thinks to ask. That is this sentence, not a question, a declaration. Sentence 2. Ị chọrọ ihe ọṅụṅụ? In English, do you want a drink? Ị chọrọ ihe ọṅụṅụ? Ị chọrọ ihe ọṅụṅụ? Ị chọrọ ihe ọṅụṅụ? The door opened wider. The water is already on the table. Now she asks what else he needs. Sentence 3. Achọrọ m tea. In English, I want tea. Achọrọ m tea. Achọrọ m tea. Achọrọ m tea. Nnamdi's answer. In Igbo, without thinking, 2 people in Manila speaking their language to each other as if it is the most natural thing in the world. Because it is. These 3 sentences are in your free speaking workbook this week. Download it at learnibonow.com. If you are driving right now, just listen. The workbook will be waiting. She goes to make the tea. Ị chọrọ ihe ọṅụṅụ? He calls from the kitchen. Achọrọ m tea, he calls back. She is smiling. She does not entirely know why. Or perhaps she does. She found something she thought she had misplaced. Not the word, not even the language, the register, the weight inside the act. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. He who brings Kola brings life. She brought water. It was enough. What just happened in that kitchen is 500 years old. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. He who brings kola nut brings life. The kola nut is the original vessel. The water is its secular descendant. The principle is unchanged. To offer sustenance to the person who has crossed your threshold is to offer them life itself. Their continuity under your roof, your declaration that they matter to you before they have done anything to earn it. In every home I grew up moving through, in Enugu, in Mbese, in the houses of my parents' generation, the offer came before the conversation, before the news from home, before the asking after the children. Water first, the body first, the obligation stated before the relationship resumed. Victor Uchendu documented this in 1965, the first major Igbo scholar to give it institutional form. In the Igbo of Southeast Nigeria, he wrote that eating and drinking together for the Igbo is not just mere courtesy, it is sincere. To refuse this hospitality is considered a grave insult. He observed that the host tastes the cup first, then passes to the guest. Seniority and social status governing the order. The offer of a shared cup was proof of trust. Sacred cups indicated strained relations. Kano and Obumpo, writing in Sophia, an African journal of philosophy and public affairs, in 2024, carry this further, arguing that the ritual of offering sustenance in Igbo cosmology creates what they call a space of physical, psychological, and spiritual safety. Until the offer is made and received, a guest has not truly arrived. The environment is not yet safe for meaningful exchange. Every culture of hospitality encodes the same understanding. The Japanese omotenashi anticipates the guest's need before it is expressed. The Bedouin offer coffee before any negotiation begins. The Maori mana kitanga, the act of hosting, is itself a sacred obligation, not a social grace. Water is never about thirst. It is always about jurisdiction. What Uchendu described as anthropology in 1965, Kano and Obumpu name as cosmology in 2024. Igbo hospitality was never a custom. It was always a philosophy. If you want to practice these sentences with other families, with your children, the Igbo village speaking gym will soon be open. Before this day ends, say Biko Mwamiri aloud as you offer someone something to drink. Water, tea, anything. Not as language practice, as a declaration. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. What you bring is not a beverage. It is life. It is the announcement that this person in this moment is under your roof's protection. Every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mmụta Igbo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. This has been your Igbo Daily Drop. Abụ nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka mmiri ọṅụṅụ gị dị ọcha. Ka ụlọ gị nabata onye ọbụla n'udo. May your water be clean and may your home receive every person in peace. Ka anyị hụ echi. Until we meet again tomorrow. Uchechukwu Ozioma Nweke arrives last. He is 61 years old. He has lived in Phnom Penh for 9 years and still walks into every room as though he is assessing its load-bearing walls. Old habit, engineer's eyes. Ikenna Udochukwu is at one end of the plastic table, arms folded, jaw set. 44 years old and wearing his anger like a pressed shirt. Everything immaculate, nothing loose. Nkem Dirim Osuagweze is at the other end, phone face down, chin slightly raised. They have not spoken. The air between them has a particular density of two men who have been talking about each other to everyone except each other for 6 weeks. Uchechukwu sets his cloth bag on the table. He does not sit yet. He reaches in and places the white saucer down. On it, the Kola nut, a single lobe, pale and waxy under the fluorescent light. Neither man looks at it directly. Both men have seen it. Uchechukwu sits. Ndewo. No. I am Yvonne Choma Mbanefo, heritage futurist and daughter of the soil. Welcome to Igbo Daily Drops, episode 58, week 12, day 3, Wednesday. Today, the ancient protocol that makes honest conversation mandatory. When an Igbo person breaks Kola, they are not offering a snack. They are opening a covenantal session, calling the ancestors as witnesses, declaring that everything said in this room from this moment carries spiritual weight. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Uchechukwu looks at the Kola. Oji abịarutela ụlọ. Kola nut has arrived home. He does not say it to Ikenna. He does not say it to Nkem Dirim. He says it to the room. The way a man says something he has said 10,000 times and means 10,000 times more than the words carry. Nkem Dirim straightens his collar. For no reason. Twice. The Kola nut does not care about the association accounts. He does not care about the 6 weeks of WhatsApp messages that have fractured 34 Igbo people across Phnom Penh into 2 silent camps. It was old before Nigeria was a word, and it has its own protocol in Igbo tradition. The Ewoji, the Kola nut breaking ceremony, opens every significant gathering, not as decoration, as authentication. The session is now witnessed. The ancestors are in the room. Today, 3 sentences, the phrases that open covenantal space, invite right action, and declare the purpose of the gathering. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. Oji abịarutela ụlọ. In English, Kola nut has arrived home. Oji abịarutela ụlọ. Oji abịarutela ụlọ. Oji abịarutela ụlọ. The sentence Uchechukwu speaks before either man decides whether to yield. Sentence 2. Biko, wara anyị ọjị a. In English, please break the Kola nut for us. Biko, wara anyị ọjị a. Biko, wara anyị ọjị a. Biko wara anyị ọjị a. The request and the duty in one breath. And anyị, us, includes those no longer living. Sentence 3. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. In English, he who brings Kola brings life. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. Not addressed to the men, to the room. These 3 sentences are in your free speaking workbook this week. Download it at learnigbonow.com. If you are driving right now, just listen. The workbook will be waiting. Uchechukwu picks up the Kola. His hands are steady. He places one lobe in front of Ikenna, one in front of Nkemdirim, one on the saucer, for those who are not in the room and are always in the room. Then he speaks, quietly, without ceremony, without looking at either man. Onye wetara ọjị wetara ndụ. The men eat. Nothing is resolved. Ikenna's arms have loosened slightly. Nkemdirim's phone is still face down. Outside on Street 278, a tuk-tuk accelerates past. But the session is open now. The ancestors are present. Whatever these 2 men say next will be witnessed. Mmadụ abụọ na-alụ ọgụ. Onye nke atọ bata, ogbuo ha. Ogbuo ha ya bụ ọgụ. Mmadụ abụọ na-alụ ọgụ. Onye nke atọ bata, ogbuo ha ya bụ ọgụ. People are fighting. The third person who arrives and brings them to order. That is what stops the war. Who did not argue. Take sides. Placed a single Kola nut on a white saucer. Asia and let 9,000 years of protocol do the work. Abụọ na-alụ ọgụ. Onye nke atọ bata, ogbuo ha ya bụ ọgụ. Mmadụ abụọ na-alụ ọgụ. Onye nke atọ bata, ogbuo ha ya bụ ọgụ. When 2 people are fighting, the third person who arrives and brings them to order. That is what ends the war. The third person does not win the argument. They change the ground on which it is being fought. We grew up watching the eldest man clear his throat before touching the Kola nut, and we knew. The ancestors are listening now. What we witnessed was not ceremony. It was judicial summons. Sebere Chukwundiukwu, Catholic priest, theologian, researcher at the University of Wurzburg, documented this in 2014 in his peer-reviewed monograph, Authenticity of Belief in African Igbo Traditional Religion, published by Academic Research. His finding, the blessing and sharing of Kola nut, creates communion between the living and the dead, and this is the part that stops the room. People in enmity do not share Kola nut until they are reconciled. The sharing is not symbolic. It is the reconciliation. The philosophy Ndiukwu records, since we can eat The philosophy Ndiukwu records, since we can eat together, we can dialogue together. Yoruba elders practice a parallel hospitality covenant through the sharing of bitter Kola before any significant negotiation. The Akan of Ghana open councils with libation that calls the ancestors as witnesses. Across West Africa, the same architecture. Before the words, the witnesses. Before the argument, the authentication. What Igbo tradition codified in the Iwoji? Restorative justice practitioners formalized in the 1970s under the term judicial witnessing, the documented finding that the presence of acknowledged witnesses changes what participants are willing to say and are willing to hear. Uchechukwu did not mediate. He installed witnesses. No perjury law is more effective than an ancestor watching. Before this day ends, say Onye wetaroji wetarando as you sit down at the table with someone you have been avoiding, not as language practice, as an intention. The third person who arrives and changes the ground, that can be you. Every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mmụta Igbo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. Grab your free speaking workbook at learnibonow.com. Rate us wherever you're listening. Your review is how another learner finds their way home. This has been your Igbo Daily Drop. Abụ nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka ọjị gị wee weta ndụ n'ụlọ gị. May your Kola nut bring life into your house. Ka anyị hụ echi. Until we meet again tomorrow. Nnenna is at the stove on Rye Lane when the knocking comes. She has made enough food for 6 people. She does this every Saturday. Has done for 11 years, since her husband died and her children scattered to Enugu and Toronto and Houston. The pot is always full. The table is always set for 2. The second plate is not for a guest. It is for the possibility of a guest. There is a difference. She lifts the lid. Steam hits the cold window above the sink. Her neighbor, Blessing, is in the hallway when Nnenna opens the door. 24 years old. Yoruba. 3 months in the building. Never awake before noon on a Saturday. She is holding a small white envelope with both hands, the way you hold something that has already changed you. Nnenna sees the envelope. She sees the face above it. She says nothing about either. She says, Bia rie nri, come and eat food. Blessing opens her mouth, the protest already forming, the polite refusal, and Nnenna raises one hand very slightly. The hand says, this is not a question. Blessing steps inside. Ichori iri nri? Nnenna asks this from the stove, her back turned, the wooden ladle already moving. Do you want to eat food? But she asks it the way the Igbo ask it. Not as a question requiring an answer, but as a question that answers itself. The soup is already in the bowl. The yam is already cut. The envelope sits on the table. Nnenna does not look at it. The trouble can wait. The food cannot. Ndewo no. I am Yvonne Choma Mbanefo, heritage futurist and daughter of the soil. Welcome to Igbo Daily Drops, episode 59, week 12, day 4, Thursday. Today, the sentences that feed a person before you ask what is wrong. In Igbo homes, you feed a person before you ask what is wrong. Not because the food is more important, but because a hungry person cannot hear their own grief. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Blessing sits. She has not been in this kitchen before. She notices the photographs on the windowsill. Faces she doesn't know, a village she has never seen. She notices the food processor that has clearly never been used, and a wooden mortar beside it that clearly has. Nnenna sets down the bowl of ofe onugbu and a plate of ji, white yam, boiled firm. She says, "Anyị nwere ji na ofe. We have yam and soup." The word anyị, we. Nnenna is alone in this flat. She has been alone for 11 years. But she says we with no hesitation, because she is not speaking for herself. She is speaking for the household, for the kitchen, for the women before her who made the same food in the same pot and placed it in front of people who arrived at the door holding things they couldn't yet name. The soup is always made for more than one. This is not generosity. Generosity is a choice. This is structure. Today, 3 sentences. The sentences that make you the kind of person whose door someone will knock on when things fall apart. Repeat after me. Bịa rie nri. In English, come and eat food. Bịa rie nri. Bịa rie nri. Bịa rie nri. This is the sentence Nnenna said before she asked a single question. Ị chọrọ iri nri? In English, do you want to eat food? Ị chọrọ iri nri? Ị chọrọ iri nri? Ị chọrọ iri nri? This is the question that already has an answer. The bowl is already full. Anyị nwere ji na ofe. In English, we have yam and soup. Anyị nwere ji na ofe. Anyị nwere ji na ofe. Anyị nwere ji na ofe. This is the sentence that says, you are not alone at this table. We have, not I. These 3 sentences are in your free speaking workbook this week. Download it at learnibonow.com. If you are driving right now, just listen. The workbook will be waiting. They eat without speaking. This is also part of it. Blessing finishes the bowl. Nnenna refills it without asking. Only then, only when the food is done and the bowl is resting on the table, And the envelope is still sitting there, still closed. Does Nnenna look at it? She does not reach for it. She looks at Blessing. Gwam, tell me. And Blessing tells her, in English, in Yoruba, in a language that needs no translation, the kind of telling that is only possible between people who have eaten at the same table. The proverb for this is ancient. Ejide ibe ji n'aka, asa agụụ okwu. Ejide ibe ji n'aka, asa agụụ okwu. One can only challenge hunger when they hold a piece of yam in the hand. You do not go into battle without the yam. The meal is not before the crisis. The meal is the preparation for it. Ejide ibe ji n'aka, asa agụụ okwu. Ejide ibe ji n'aka, asa agụụ okwu. One can only challenge hunger when they hold a piece of yam in the hand. In Igbo understanding, the yam in your hand is not only food. It is the condition for any hard conversation, any act of courage, any grief that must be survived. You arm a person before you ask them to fight. In Igbo land, we say the food comes before the question. Not because we are avoiding the question, because the question cannot be heard on an empty stomach. What Nnenna understands, what every Igbo woman who has run a household understands, is that commensality, the act of eating together, is not social pleasure. It is social infrastructure. Sri Lakshmi, KP, a research scholar at Christ University, Bengaluru, working in the field of critical food studies, published in 2023 in Studies in Linguistics, Culture and FLT, an analysis of commensality in Achebe's Things Fall Apart. Drawing on theorist Arjun Appadurai, she found that food in Igbo life can signal rank, solidarity, identity, exclusion, and intimacy, often simultaneously. The meal is the language. Every element of it encodes meaning. The Confucian tradition understood this too. Ritual eating in East Asia was governance by another name. The table a site of social contract. What Igbo women like Nnenna have always practiced, the meal before the disclosure, the bowl before the burden, anthropologists are only now naming. Hospitality is not generosity. Generosity is discretionary. Hospitality is constitutional. The Igbo kitchen doesn't ask permission. It acts first. If you want to practice these sentences with other families, with your children, the Igbo village-speaking gym will be open soon. Before this day ends, say "Bia Rienri" aloud as you set a place at your table, even an empty table, even if no guest is coming. Not as language practice, as a declaration. Because the proverb says, you cannot move what is coming with empty hands. Set the table before the knock. Have the yam ready. Every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mutibo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. Grab your free speaking workbook at learnibonow.com. Rate us wherever you're listening. Your review is how another learner finds their way home. This has been your Igbo Daily Drop. Abụ nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka ụlọ gị bụrụ ebe nchekwa. May your home be a place of shelter and protection for yourself and for whoever arrives at the door holding something they cannot yet name. Ka anyị hụ echi. Until we meet again tomorrow. The school bag is already on Nwa Sinachi's back. She is 11 years old and she has been ready to leave for 7 minutes. The car that will take her back to Aba is idling in the road outside the gate. She can hear it, low and patient, through the compound wall. The afternoon light is going flat and copper, catching the lacquered surface of the furniture her uncle brought back from Onewi. Everything in this compound is expensive and still. Mama Mbafo's house smells of imported wood polish and red earth at the same time. Mama Mbafo is seated on the veranda bench. She has not moved. Nwa Sinachi shifts her weight from one foot to the other. Mama, the driver is waiting. Mama Mbafo looks at her granddaughter. The look is not unkind. I know, she says. You have not said goodbye yet. Nwa Sinachi glances at the gate. She glances back. The bag is on her back. The car is running. She has said goodbye, hasn't she? Ndewo? No. I am Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo, heritage futurist and daughter of the soil. Welcome to Igbo Daily Drops, episode 60, week 12, day 5, Friday. Today, a goodbye is not a moment. It is a ceremony. In Igbo culture, ekele, the word for greeting, is also the word for gratitude. The departure, ritual, and the gift are the same word. Ka anyị bido. Let us begin. Mama Mbafo rises from her bench. She does not hurry. She walks towards Nwa Sinachi and takes both her hands. You say Ijeoma, she tells her. You say it to me not because I'm going anywhere, because you are. Nwa Sinachi says it quietly. Ijeoma, safe journey. She is not sure who she is wishing it to. Now, you greet those I cannot see. The Igbo have always known that neuroscientists are only beginning to measure the person standing in front of you is never only themselves. They carry their household with them. Today, 3 sentences. The ones that do not just close a visit. The ones that hold a relationship open while you are gone. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. Ijeoma. In English, safe journey. Ijeọma, Ijeọma, Ijeọma. In the compound on Obieze Road, Nwasinachi says this to her grandmother and means it for the first time. Sentence 2. Kelee ndị nọ n'ụlọ. In English, greet those at home. Kelee ndị nọ n'ụlọ. Kelee ndị nọ n'ụlọ. Kelee ndị nọ n'ụlọ. Mama Mgbafor's presence will travel in this sentence all the way to Aba. Sentence 3. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ. In English, we will see again. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ. Not a hope, a declaration. The visit is not ending. It is being placed in safekeeping. These 3 sentences are in your free speaking workbook this week. Download it at learnigbonow.com. If you are driving right now, just listen. The workbook will be waiting. Mama Mgbafor squeezes Nwasinachi's hands once and lets them go. Kelee ndị nọ n'ụlọ, she says. Greet those at home. Nwasinachi understands now. Her mother in Aba. Her father at work. Her younger brother watching cartoons. She is being asked to carry this compound back to them. Not in her school bag. In the sentence. Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ, Nwasinachi says. Her voice is steady. Mama Mgbafor smiles. Now you may go. A girl walked out of a gate with her grandmother's voice in her mouth. Onye bịara abịa jiri ụka bịa. Onye bịara abịa jiri ụka bịa. The visitor comes with a purpose. In English, you do not arrive empty and you do not leave empty. The visit travels in both directions. In Igbo land, we say that a child who lives without the proper words has not really left. She has only moved her body. The leave-taking is the thing that closes the visit and carries it forward. Nduku Udaga, writing in 2020 from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Advances in Social Sciences Research Journal, Volume 7, documented something the Igbo have always known. The word ekele holds both greeting and gratitude in the same breath. Not 2 words, 1. The farewell and the gift share a root. Consider that for a moment. In English, we separate them. We say thank you and we say goodbye, as if they are different acts. The Igbo grammar refuses that separation. The departure is the gratitude. The closure is the gift. And what evolutionary anthropologists studying greeting behavior across 47 cultures in 2015 found was this: farewell rituals in communal societies are not endings. They are maintenance systems. The relationship does not pause when the person leaves. It continues. held in the words said at the gate. Ekele is not politeness. It is engineering. If you want to practice these sentences with other families, with your children, the Igbo village speaking gym will soon be open. Before this day ends, say "Anyị ga-ahụ ọzọ" aloud to someone you are about to part from. Not as practice, as a declaration, because the visitor comes with a purpose, and so does the one who leaves. Every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mmụta Igbo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. Grab your free speaking workbook at learnibonow.com. Rate us wherever you're listening. Your review is how another learner finds their way home. This has been your Igbo Daily Drop. Abụ m nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka okwu gị dị ndụ n'ọnụ ndị hụrụ n'anya. May your words live in the mouths of those you love. Ka anyị hụ echi. Until we meet again tomorrow. And that brings us to the end of this week's Igbo Daily Drops Omnibus. If a sentence or proverb stayed with you today, take a moment to say it again out loud. Every phrase you practice keeps the language alive. Remember, every sentence you learn is a drop, and every drop feeds Oke Osimiri Mmụta Igbo, the ocean of Igbo knowledge. If you'd like to practice these lessons further, download the workbook at learnibonow.com. Until tomorrow's drop, abụ m nwanne gị nwanyị Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I am your sister Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. Ka chi gị duo gị ọfụma. May your chi guide you well.